Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So I'm gonna bring up some controversial things in this video, but I want to talk about it because it's something that I think is actually possible, and also I feel like this benefits both teams involved. And on top of it, we're gonna talk about off-season moves. So the title of this video is gonna be like, I guess, like, How should the Pacers pursue their offseason, or something like that, of the extent. Pacers offseason, something of the sort, if I stop hitting shit. So I've began to kind of scour free agents. There's a lot of unrestricted free agents this year. There's not a lot of good ones. But I've begun to ask myself, is there any way that we can replace the production that Buddy Hield and Miles Turner bring to our team while still being able to trade them, right? That's what I've been looking into. And boys, I found a way to do it, okay? Now, you are probably not going to like one of the players that I propose here. In fact, you're probably not going to like a vast majority of this video, but I think it works. And that's the reason I'm bringing it. The whole reason I'm bringing it up is because I would rather say it and have it out there than not say it and it happens, and then I'm like, I thought of this and should have said something. So that's the reason that I'm making this video. So, there are two guys in free agency that I think could easily replace what Buddy Hield and Miles Turner bring to our team. And one of those guys I think is actually an improvement. Those two guys are Christian Wood and Gary Trent Jr. Christian Wood puts up basically identical stats to Miles Turner, and we could get him significantly cheaper than we're paying Miles Turner. Miles Turner is a guy that is essentially a stretch big. He's a 3-and-D big, but his defensive win shares are literally the fucking same as Christian Wood's. Christian Wood has had the best defensive year of his career playing for the Dallas Mavericks, believe it or not. He's only gotten one technical foul all year, so the technical fouls thing is starting to calm down. He's played 66 games, I believe, for the Mavericks this year, and started for 17 of them. And we all know the major gripe with Dallas was that Christian Wood was not going to be a starter. And on our team, I think Christian Wood would easily be a starter. I think he shores up our power forward position. He would not be playing center, by the way. Keep that in mind. Christian Wood is 6'10". He weighs 214 pounds, and he's actually a very efficient shooter. Like, scoring-wise, he's efficient. He averages about a block a game. Okay, like, he's a guy that we could play at the power forward position, and I would be semi-confident in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's a guy that if we brought him in, playing with Tyrese Haliburton, I think would be a benefit, right? Now, Gary Trent Jr., on the other hand, puts up very similar production to Buddy Hield, and he's 6 years younger than him, and he's a better defender. Gary Trent Jr. shoots 43% from the field, 37% from three. Buddy Hield shoots 45% from the field, 42% from three. And because of that, I think, you know, Gary Trent averages 1.6 steals a game. Buddy Hield averages 1.2. And yes, while Buddy Hield scores more, Gary Trent is younger. And you're not really losing much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you might have to pull out the bag for Gary Trent Jr., but I don't mind pulling out the bag for Gary Trent Jr. if we're getting a legitimate 3-and-D guy who is going to give us similar production to what Buddy Hield did. I also think, like, Buddy Hield, while he can sometimes put the ball on the floor and get to the basket, I just don't want him doing it as a Pacers fan. Like, I understand he's kind of capable of it, but it's not good enough to justify how much he does it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I'm at. And I just think Buddy Hield could be a guy that could be a good piece on a team that's looking to contend. The same thing with Miles Turner. And while Christian Wood is 1 year older than Miles Turner, I think the cap space and the amount of money we would save just by signing Christian Wood and trading Miles Turner would be a huge benefit to our team. So now that let's say, we're signing Christian Wood, we're signing Gary Trent, who are we going to trade Buddy Hield and Miles Turner for? Great question. Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the reason I say this is because I understand Karl-Anthony Towns only played 26 games this year. He started all 26 of them. But the problem is, it's been kind of a clusterfuck with Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert being on the floor at the same time. They're a team that I understand they want to see how all this works, but they're a team that lacks spacing. And not only that, but Miles Turner and Buddy Hield provide spacing. I mean, as much as I don't like Miles Turner, and as much as I don't think he's a true center, Miles Turner's a guy that could go to Minnesota, play power forward, block a shit ton of shots, and shoot a shit ton of threes, and he would be exactly where he wants to be. That would be right at home for him. Because then you have Rudy Gobert playing the center. You don't got to worry about Karl-Anthony Towns coming inside and fucking up Rudy Gobert's vibe. All right? Like, they figured out, the Minnesota Timberwolves figured out how to play with Rudy Gobert. Okay, with Mike Conley at the point and all this other stuff, Anthony Edwards is finally stepping into the role that we want him to step into. This is a team that no longer requires Karl-Anthony Towns. And that's the main purpose of this video. And that's like the main purpose of the trade as well, is the idea that they no longer require Karl-Anthony Towns to be a winning team. In fact, they had learned when Karl-Anthony Towns went down, they actually played better basketball. So I think to myself, Karl-Anthony Towns, when healthy, is a guy that can put up 24 and 10 or 24 and 12 for you pretty fucking easy, actually. And I think he's a bit of an underrated passer. He can shoot the three at 39% for his career. He shot free throws at an 87% clip in the 26 games he did play. He shoots roughly 50% from the field whenever he plays, which is still, it's good. It's a, excuse me. It's good. It's not great for a center, but it's something that you can get away with. You know what I'm saying? And I think to myself, right, if we were to have a roster with Tyrese Haliburton and Karl-Anthony Towns on it, the sky is the fucking limit. Okay? And you know what? Maybe we even got to give up our top 5, our top 10 draft pick this year, right? Maybe we got to trade Buddy, we got to trade Miles, and our top 10 pick in order to get Karl-Anthony Towns. And you know what? I would be fucking fine with it. Because Karl-Anthony Towns, if I'm correct, is still not that old. Like, how old is Karl-Anthony Towns? Karl-Anthony Towns is 27 years old. He's literally the same age as Miles Turner. And I think if you put Karl-Anthony Towns in the middle, Christian Wood out on the perimeter, let him do what he's going to do, Ben Mathurin at the 3, Gary Trent Jr. at the 2, and Tyrese Haliburton at the 1, suddenly you have a roster that looks pretty good, or at least is starting to get pretty good, right? So after we've done all of this, there are 2 guys I would like to see signed. One guy I'd like to see signed to a training camp deal, and another guy that I'd like to see signed to maybe a 2 or 3 year deal. And the first guy that I'd like to see on a training camp deal is Jonathan Isaac. We don't have to sign him, right? But he's a guy that I would like to see get brought into training camp. He's still young. I think he's only 24 years old. He is one of the best defensive players in basketball when he plays. And that's what our team needs. We need rebounding. We need size. And we need a wing. We need a guy who's going to play defense. Jonathan Isaac checks all of those fucking boxes. Okay? And yeah, maybe even on a vet minimal deal. I don't know. But I as a Pacers fan, I am willing to take a swing on injury-prone ass Jonathan Isaac. Okay? I think he's worth one roster spot that a two-way player is maybe not fucking getting. Okay? I know there's going to be people who disagree with that, but I think Jonathan Isaac is a guy that you can justify giving a training camp deal to once the offseason is over, or even giving him a vet minimum deal to bring him in and just see, right? I think it's completely justifiable, okay? Because if for whatever reason, let's say this is the last injury he goes through, right? He's a guy that I think shot like 40% from the three-point line when in the games he did play for Orlando. So I'm like, okay, like he's clearly been working on his three-point shot to some extent. He's a guy that it's like he could be a real winner if we took a chance on him and fucking hit. And even if we lose with a vet minimum deal, who cares, right? That's the first guy. And the second guy is TJ Warren, believe it or not. He's a guy that I know Pacers fans are somewhat iffy on, but he's a guy who signed a vet minimum deal with the Brooklyn Nets, didn't play much for the Brooklyn Nets, went to the Phoenix Suns, hasn't really played much for them, and when he has played, he hasn't really been good. But like TJ Warren's a guy that I'm like, we could bring him back, bring him off the bench, and let him be like the primary scorer in our bench unit. Well, our team needs more wings, man. Like, our team needs more wings. And TJ Warren's a guy that I understand we gave up on him because of the injury, but the injury is over. You know what I'm saying? Like, bring him back on a 2 or 3 year deal worth, I don't know, $12 to $15 million, and see what the fuck is there. You know what I'm saying? Or sign him to a training camp deal. Bring him in. Let him play in camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jonathan Isaac and TJ Warren are two guys that I'm like, if I was the Pacers GM, I would take a shot. I would be like, let's just see what's there. And as far as trading for Karl-Anthony Towns, I really like it. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is a huge upgrade over Miles Turner. Even if we have to send them Buddy Hield, right? We get ourselves another bona fide star player. Okay? And yes, I get the injury concerns. I understand that. But when Karl-Anthony Towns plays, okay, Karl-Anthony Towns is capable of 24 and 12 a game. And his stats went down a lot, but he only played 26 games, and those stats went down a lot once Rudy Gobert entered the picture. Okay? If we have a team where Tyrese Haliburton is running the show, and we can get Karl-Anthony Towns in the pick and roll, in the pick and pop, and get him down in the post, I don't see how you don't do this, okay? Like, to be honest, Buddy Hield doesn't really fit our fucking timeline anyway, and on top of it, Miles Turner is not necessarily getting any better. If you were to ask me, Miles Turner is just about as injury-prone as Karl-Anthony Towns. So, and I just think the fit for both teams makes too much sense not to do. And if you're the Pacers, I don't know, maybe you don't give up that top 10 pick, right? But maybe you give up your other 2 first-round picks this year. Maybe you give up Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, and 2 late first-round picks to Minnesota, so they have something to go on. I think if I were the Minnesota Timberwolves GM, I don't know how you don't do this, because your team needs spacing. They were one of the worst jump shooting teams in the NBA this year from 3. Okay? They had Naz Reid shooting fucking threes. All right? So if you can bring in Miles Turner, by the way, Naz Reid is an unrestricted free agent. So, yeah, you know what? That's one more three-point shooter they're going to be losing. So if you can give them Buddy Hield, you can give them Miles Turner, who have contract extensions, who are locked in for at least until, 2024, 2025? I don't see, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't see how you don't do this trade. Okay? You're giving up a guy who doesn't necessarily fit in your rotation anymore for 2 guys who definitely fucking will. Okay? Miles Turner is not going to be around the basket. Miles Turner is going to hang out on the three-point line and shoot threes. That's what he's good at anyway. Okay? And yeah, he can run the floor, maybe catch a dunk every once in a while. But Rudy Gobert's going to be in the dunker spot, and you can let Miles sit out on the three-point line and shoot threes, considering that's what he likes to do anyway. And he can block some shots in the paint and stuff like that. Like, honestly, I don't know how Minnesota doesn't do this trade. And yeah, there's Pacers fans that might think it's a little too much, and I understand that. But Karl-Anthony Towns is a guy that I feel like with Tyrese Haliburton, Karl-Anthony Towns, you let Ben Mathurin continue to grow. I think in 2 or 3 years, we could be a legit title contender, you know, with Tyrese Haliburton, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Ben Mathurin. And not only that, but like, I also feel like a trade like this would at least signal to fans of the Indiana Pacers that they're trying, okay? They tried on DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, it was a swing and a miss. But Karl-Anthony Towns is a guy that I just think doesn't fit what the Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to do anymore. And honestly, when they made the trade for Rudy Gobert, my instant thought was, what the fuck are they going to do with Karl-Anthony Towns? I think that was everybody's thought. They were like, how is this going to work? And the team literally played better without him. So, I don't know, man. Take it for what you want. This is just my opinion. I just wanted to bring it up to you guys. But this is what I think. So tell me what you guys think about it down below in the comment section below. I'd really like to hear your guys' opinions on this because I think it's very interesting. Helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.